All right. Hello, everybody. Today, we're going to have a journalist give us an expose of her experience of having just gone through the entire Transform program.
Yeah. Dr. Maggie, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about it and what I thought about working with you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Autoimmune Table Talk Live. Okay, this is an expose, right? So I'm going to do something. I want to give you a nugget right now. A lot of people don't realize this about Dr. Maggie, but I'm going to tell you right here, right now, she's a drill sergeant.
Oh, boy.
Working with Dr. Maggie is like working with a health drill sergeant.
Oh, gosh.
Have you ever heard anybody describe you that way before?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
I think it's very accurate. And I think it's what so many of us actually did need, because you hold our feet to the fire. And if we are not all in and not willing to do what it takes to transform our health and our autoimmunity, you're asking us, what are we doing here? You know, why are you in this program if you're not willing to do what it takes?
Why are you here? Why are you here?
Yeah. So it was almost like when I was starting my mastermind calls with you, a little bit like, oh, I better be on it, you know? I better have the answers ready and I better be willing to do what you're saying, because if not, why are we putting our faith in you?
Well, you know, I have a saying about that, Anne, which is I'm going to care just as much as you do.
And I've heard you say, I can't care more than you to some people, because sometimes it seems like they're not as invested as you are.
Yeah, right. I see that out there where there's a lot of people that actually do care less than I do. And if they do, it's like, it's difficult for me and I won't work with them. And so, and when, if you actually do say that you care just as much as I do, dang it, I am going to be all in plus more. That's accountability, both directions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I did a whole vlog. Maybe you caught some of my vlogs as I went through the program. And in it, I talked about how it is such a different experience to have a doctor like Dr. Maggie, who is so excited about your findings and your results. She absolutely is as invested as you are in learning about your health and discovering these things that then are going to contribute to being able to turn your health around.
I think excitement is the key word. I am a kid in a candy store when I teach and when I interact with clients. I really am. It gets me so excited. Sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, that gave me goosebumps. Because someone actually is teaching something back to us in the group, which I ask for all the time. When they do, I'm just like, oh, we always saying like, what, winner chicken dinner? Who's going to get the winner chicken dinner? When somebody gets it right, or they make a discovery that's above and beyond what they ever thought or ever dreamed. It's just like, woo, that is like, that makes my life worth it right there at that moment.
No, you can tell. And it's so genuine, because I've seen you did it with me, like when we made a couple of my discoveries, which we'll talk about. But I also saw you do it with countless other people when they would learn something that, for instance, maybe it was a food intolerance that they never knew about, that they had been eating all the time. And you would get so excited because you say, this is going to be such a game changer for your life. Or maybe it's your hormone results. And you said, wow, did you ever expect you had this going on with your hormones? This is going to be a game changer.
I love it. And it's with the same excitement I'm going into this today, because we're doing an expose. I mean, you are. I get to turn the tables around. I get to interview you this time. If you guys don't know, Anne is the host of Autoimmune Table Talk and has been for the last 9 months. And it took 9 months for her to actually ask to say, hey, I'm ready to join the program. I'm ready to do the program. So I would love for you first to tell the audience, number one is you're a journalist. And what is your journalistic background, so people know that, and it's with that journalistic eye that you went through the program. Number one, what's your journalistic background so everyone's familiar with it?
Right. Just so everyone's aware, I'm a TV news anchor. I've been anchoring local TV newscasts for going on the last 20 years now. And I was also a reporter. I've done investigative pieces, and I love telling other people's stories and also bringing information to people. So that's been my background for a long, long time now. I currently anchor local newscasts from one location for places all over the country, local news. So it's a different kind of concept. So yeah, this is kind of my life. I love to learn information. I love to go ahead and spread information, but it's telling other people's stories, not usually my own, and not usually having the tables turned on me like we're doing today.
Okay. And if anybody here has seen Anne on her newscasts, if you can say hi in the chat, that'll be really great. If any of you guys have been catching her vlogs, she was generous and, honestly courageous enough to document her entire process from day one from the beginning to the end of the Transform program. That was a 2-month process. And I think you created, I don't know, 20, 30, 40?
No, I think it was about 40 or so vlogs.
Yeah, 40 vlog videos going blow by blow behind the scenes, your real-time, real-life experience as you went through the program. So if anybody has seen any of her videos in the vlog, I would love for you to type in the chat vlog. I watched the blog, VLOG. Write it down in chat. Anybody who's watching right now, if you're an alumni, who've been through through any of our programs, can you type in chat that you're an alumni and tell people what autoimmune or hormonal struggles or gut struggles you struggled with? Type it in chat right now. Here's the thing. We love talking with you. I don't like talking at you. So the more interaction and feedback I get in the comment section, the more and longer I'm going to go in depth and ask more and more questions and also answer some of your questions. If you guys have any questions about the Transform program or any questions about, tell me about what's going on with your autoimmunity right now in chat, that'd be super helpful. So I know if there's any questions we can answer while we're at this, I'd love to do it. So
yeah, we're already seeing people. We're seeing people say hello and tell us what it is they're dealing with. So yep. And also thank you for watching to that user as well. Yeah. If you do have questions, I was going to reiterate that. Questions for me about what it was like going through the program, please ask, or questions for Dr. Maggie about what it's like going through the program. Let us know because we'd love to chat with you. And
if there's anyone that you think you want to share this with, type their name in the chat right now, in the comment section right now. Sharing is caring. Let's raise some awareness around this. So we're going to dig right in. So Anne, it took you 9 months to actually ask to make the decision to actually join the program. And my question was, why did it take you 9 months?
Yeah. Why so long?
Yeah.
A number of reasons. Probably number one, the cost of the program, right? That's something that always gives people pause. And I know it does because I talked to the alumni about it as well. And so it's an investment, certainly in your time and in your financial resources. But I think what was a game changer for me is when I finally watched the training that you have on price versus cost. Yeah. You talk about what is the cost of staying sick and what is the cost that you have already put into trying to get answers that has not produced results.
That's expensive.
It's very expensive.
The worst is having spent the money and to be the same or worse. That's the most expensive thing that you can do. What you've already done. That's the thing, is people don't look backwards and learn from that or realize the amount of that. Yeah. Right. And I think on that training, I did a calculation, and on multiple trainings, I've done that calculation. And I remember one participant, when we did that calculation, it turned out it was like a $2 million problem that this person had. I mean, it's and we just did an interview. Who did we say? I just did an interview. We just did an interview where the client said that she had spent over $200,000 prior to even joining the program. And it's interesting, when she looked backwards, she realized just how expensive that really was versus looking at, I'm going to spend this amount of money and it's going to work. That's really a different type of investment than knowing what you already did in the past. Like that's why the whole price versus cost training, I think, is really crucial. Did anyone see that? Or is anyone interested in seeing me do a breakdown of what is price versus cost difference?
Yeah.
What's the price of something and what's the true cost of something?
Debbie saying, alumni here. And I told my doctor today, who may also want to work with you, the cost is a drop in the bucket for the health benefit.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So that's something to think about. So number one obstacle for you, like most people, how many for you guys out there, the idea of investing in your health like this is an obstacle? Price is my biggest, cost is my biggest, price or the cost is my biggest obstacle. Type it in chat because that's a really common thing. But I think that people don't really have the perspective of how much they've already spent to still be sick and what it's going to cost if they don't interrupt this now. That's the thing. Pattern interruption is the cheapest thing that you can do. Cheapest, fastest thing you can do is education to break a pattern.
And I think also that you've talked about this too, that this point, the autoimmune marches on. This
Mhm.
right now might be the healthiest you ever are in the future if you don't do something to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I look at even right now, Meg is sitting here saying that she's dealing with glaucoma and high blood pressure. And a lot of people think, oh, I take my meds and I'm fine. Yeah, but at the same time, people who want some of the underlying issues, the inflammatory issues that causes high blood pressure, is these underlying mechanisms in the 5 pillars that we talk about. And yet, a lot of people wait till their stroke or something, and then someone will do a CT scan and see, oh my God, you've been having mini strokes with your blood pressure the whole time. And we wait till that happens. And then we're like, oh, we should have done something back there all along to prevent this blood pressure in the first place. And why are we waiting for some of these terminal end stage results? And why aren't we intervening way earlier, 10, 20 years earlier, so that never happens? Right?
Yeah.
What's the price of that never happening when it's completely preventable? Right? So these are some, glaucoma, same thing. We think about things like that. So money was definitely one of the obstacles. Any other things that kept you in
Yeah.
yeah.
There's this feeling when you have been ill with autoimmunity and you have tried so many things and you have
Mm,
researched so many things, you
yeah.
feel like, I've tried it all, it feels like. How will this be?
We hear this all the time.
Yeah.
I've tried everything. I've done, oh yes, I've done this, I've done that, right?
But then
And
you realize you really haven't.
well, how did you realize you haven't?
Well, for me, I have this front row seat. I'm able to talk to alumni as part of my job. I get to chat with them after they graduated the program to see,
Interview them, yeah.
yes, they've achieved these results and maybe they thought they'd tried everything. So clearly there must be something different. You are doing something different. You're approaching this in a different way that is achieving results that no other doctor is able to.
Mhm. So what you're saying is that well, you say you've tried everything, and I hear it all the time, and I yawn at that one. And the
Mhm.
reason is because when people say they've tried something, like when you realistically drill them down and say, "What have you really tried?" I mean, it's like literally things on 5 hands. They tried it; they didn't master it, actually. So for me, it's interesting is that I would hope that the depth with which I go into these trainings, just even talking about, let's say, digestion as an example, you realize when people say, I've tried, have you tried what? Like, oh, I might have, maybe they even, I don't know what they did. They took a probiotic, but did they really understand anything about the digestion? Did they ever understand what steps can be broken? Do they understand that 90% of people with autoimmune disease from the get-go have a problem with this? And did they actually learn it? Did they actually implement changes to digestion? Did they get the results or the outcomes? What the heck did you try with digestion anyway? And the typical answer is nothing.
Right.
Nothing. And that's just one out of 1,000 things. So it's like this whole thing of I've tried everything. It's kind of almost a self-protective blanket statement
Yeah.
to be right. I've done everything I possibly can. When
Right.
the truth of the matter is, most people have done minimal things that have dabbled minimally in many things, have been master of none, and certainly don't have the right order of operations of when those things should be done or the depth with which they should be done, right? Or what the other 98% of shit they don't even need to do in the first place is. If you
Right.
don't have that knowledge, then you can try a lot of bad shit that doesn't even work anyway, too.
Yeah, that is something you help us do is focus on what's important and focus on which testing is important and what we need to do from a lifestyle perspective that's important, and then not worry about some of the other extraneous things that are
Mhm.
just distractions that aren't going to produce results.
Right. And and so, yeah, I agree with you. I think focus is power, and being able to focus, I say, on shit that works is a time saver, a money saver, and a life saver.
It's true.
So I like that discernment, period. And then, okay, so the tried everything. I would hope that if you guys have seen me do some of these trainings, even if you pick a topic like digestion or blood sugar or insomnia, if you just pick one of those topics and look on my YouTube channel and see the videos and the depth with which I go about it, you realize that no, you haven't.
No.
No, you haven't. And so many people, like even the blood sugar module, how many people come into the program, or how good did you think your blood sugar was before the program?
Well, I know a lot of people thought their blood sugar was good. I actually did not. I knew my blood sugar management was poor, but I did not know really how to address it appropriately.
Mhm.
But I knew it was not in good shape because I was having a lot of symptoms that I had a feeling were blood sugar related.
Mhm.
However, what I
Mhm.
didn't know was just how big of a role my up and down swings of blood sugar were playing in fueling my autoimmunity. And once I got that really strong education about that, I got more serious about balancing my blood sugar.
So we're going to get there because none of you have mastered blood sugar. And yet people, I will say 90% of you, when you get on the phone with our team to talk to us, will say, oh, blood sugar, that's not a problem for me. So it's really fascinating. You haven't tried everything. In fact, most of you haven't tried anything.
Yeah.
And certainly not in the depth and the mastery that I'm talking about in any of those things. So that's important. So number one, money. Number two, felt like you tried anything, everything. Any other obstacles that you had that prevented you from starting?
Yeah, I would say just fear of the unknown is another obstacle. You wonder also, is this going to work for me? You see it working for other people, but what about me? Is it really going to work for me? Or is it like those before and after results maybe you see for some products online and you're like, well, that looks great for that person, but would that really happen for me?
Well, I think it's interesting because you actually, I mean, not to, if I'm going to call you out on this one. And the reason is because you had more experience interviewing every single week, real graduates from our program than anyone else on the planet. I mean, there's plenty of viewers here who watched every interview and have seen every single video on YouTube, but you said fear of the unknown. What the hell was unknown after 9 months of interviewing alumni and doing trainings every week with me? What the hell was unknown?
What's the big mystery? I know. And I mean, I think that that's why slowly but surely I built up my own confidence to say, okay, I'm going to do this. And sometimes I know that's what it takes. Some people that I've interviewed they get the information about you and they're ready to dive right in. And then there's others who are more in my camp who, sit and think about it and wonder, okay, for way too long, is this something that I should be doing? And then afterwards you say, wow, I should have done this a long time ago.
Well, and that's the whole, but so fear of the unknown is an interesting thing. But the thing is, how many case studies do people really need in front of them? How many trainings, how many pieces of evidence? And the thing is that when you still have the fear of the unknown, when every single fact is in front of you and every single piece of evidence, that's where fear becomes crippling, because it has nothing to do with the amount of information or proof that already exists. That fear is existing in you and has become your major obstacle. That fear is like literally playing spiritual warfare within you. Has nothing to do with proof about the program or the results or anything. It's about you.
Spiritual warfare. It's a good way to put it.
It is spiritual warfare. I think fear is spiritual warfare on yourself, and it's questioning your self-trust. It's questioning your pilot. It's questioning, your belief that anything could be different. Fear makes you think that it can't change. Fear is lying to you when you have as much evidence that you saw every single day, every single week, all these months. At that point, had nothing to do with fear of the unknown. You knew. You just wanted to hang on to the fear more than you wanted to get better.
Yeah. And here's our friend Megan, who is an alumni in the program who I grew to love as well. I went through the program right around the same time with Megan. So she's 100% agreeing. Yes, yes, yes. And as you're talking, I'm hearing you mention things like that are more mindset based, right?
Yeah.
The pilot in you and things like that. And that is something we can talk more about it. But another big one, there's so many of us out there dealing with autoimmunity who don't realize how big of a mindset shift we need. Yeah. And this program provides it.
If you were willing, you were at up to the 9-month point, your desire to hang on to that fear and have that spiritual warfare be lost because of fear as the spiritual warfare. You wanted to hang on to the story of fear more than you wanted to change your story to a story of victory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly, like that's where you're at. And that's where many people are at. Has nothing to do with how much proof. There is no other program on the planet, and no other doctor on the planet that has as much proof as we do here. So people are like, oh, I need more proof. I need more proof. That has nothing to do with me. It has to do with your own fear, period. And then the whole thing was, will this really work for me? That's really fascinating to me because, you've interviewed probably 30, 40 clients.
Oh, it may be more.
Yeah. Well, where does it come from that it will work for them, but it won't work for me? What was that about?
I know. I think it's, again, just a mindset thing. You're thinking, well, do they have the exact same diagnosis as I have? Do they have these same, circumstances? And then it's when you realize that Dr. Maggie says diagnosis doesn't matter. And it's true, because we all have the same root causes. And if you can attack the same root causes, we can all turn it around. I know sometimes people with autoimmunity feel like they're very alone, and there's nobody out there quite like them, because maybe their friends and family are not dealing with something similar, and maybe even their doctors are telling them, "Oh, this is a strange case. I'm not sure what to make of this," which is
Wah,
something
wah,
I've
wah.
heard countless times. I know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mindset is critical to success. Amy's so right. Yet thinking we are suffering alone. That's how I felt. I really did feel that way. And I know I'm not alone in feeling that, because so many of us with autoimmunity do have that experience.
So I'm really fascinated with this next question about, because you are a public person, you have a profession where you have a public face, a very public job. And so my question for you is that it's so interesting that people think that, why would you feel alone in your struggle with autoimmunity?
Yeah.
Why would you feel alone with your struggle with autoimmunity?
Right. Well, and part of it is what you mentioned, no matter how sick I felt on a given day, and there were some days I felt very, very sick, I
Mhm.
still had to, if I wanted to keep my job, show up, put my face on, and pretend like everything was okay. I had to put on this, not persona, because we're real people, but you look at your TV news anchors,
Mhm.
right? And you don't necessarily know that they're going through anything difficult behind the scenes in their lives, which many
Mhm.
people are. And so
Mhm.
that was the case for me. I felt like I had to just show up and put on that happy face and get through it, and also tell other people's stories. It's like I mentioned, I'm so used to putting the spotlight on someone else
Yeah.
that it is a challenge for me to then look inward and reveal things about myself.
Well, but you went 10 steps courageous above that. You decided not only were you going to do the program, but from a professional journalistic point of view, I'm going to vlog, make video blogs, 40 of them, in fact, as I go through every step of the program. Like,
I know, I know. I have to tell you, I was so apprehensive and uncomfortable to do it, but I knew that it was going to be beneficial in the long run for other people. But in the end, it was also beneficial for me.
really? Tell me, this is
Yeah,
an expose. Why
I
was
know.
it beneficial for you to share your very private health struggles on a public social media video vlog of 40 plus videos?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, for a couple reasons. It required me to have a lot of true reflection. Not only was I going through every step of the program, but then I was having to step back and say, I think I need to talk about this, and let me think about it for a moment so I can kind of analyze, what are my thoughts surrounding this. I wasn't just going through the motions. I was really thinking about it and how I could then explain it to other people, what I was thinking, what I was feeling, and what I was learning. And then on another account, I can't tell you how many people I've had reach out to me, whether
Yeah.
it's people that I know or people that I'm just getting to know, strangers who are curious about my experience, to say,
Mhm.
thank you. Thank you for sharing this, because you've really sparked something in me. I'm dealing with that same experience, or I've had those same thoughts. And so to be able to then help my friends and strangers in any kind of way, even in the smallest way, I can't tell you how rewarding that has been. So yeah, it has been a really positive experience, despite the apprehension of sharing.
And there was apprehension,
Oh yeah,
and I behind the scenes, everybody, but, like, I remember, like, in the very beginning, it was like, "Well, I don't know if I should put this out there. I don't know if I should put that," and it was interesting, it was around week 3 or something. One of the wins that you shared was about digestion and elimination,
yes.
and I was like, "I think that'd be really great to share."
So
And
I was like,
you're like, "I've shared so much, go ahead, that's
yeah,
fine,
it's
that's
like we're gonna put
fine,
the talk
yeah,
out
it's just
there.
poop, everybody poops," and I was like, "Whoa."
It's so funny, and you don't actually realize how much of the program we do. We spend a lot of time talking about poop, especially in
Oh,
the nutritional
yeah, it's
mastermind.
glorious,
Yes.
it's glorious, you have to.
It's true, but you don't realize how wonderful it is when you can have normal bowel movements. If you're
Yep,
not having them, you
right.
feel like just a glorious human being.
Yeah, and people don't realize it can change in a week. That's
It
the
can
thing,
change
people don't,
in 24 to 48 hours like it did for me. No
right?
joke.
No joke.
Once I started implementing some of the things that you told me to do within 2 days,
Well, let's talk
completely
about this. So let's go into the question of, what were some of your health struggles and autoimmune issues that you struggled with?
oh gosh. Yeah.
Mm.
The list is long, like many people with autoimmunity, because we don't just seem to have like one issue. There's so many,
Yeah.
but my life started to kind of fall apart and crumble, I thought, in about 2020. But really now I look back and it was happening for much, much longer before
Yeah.
that. But I started to get very sick in 2020 where I was extremely fatigued, talking about like no energy at all.
Yeah.
I lost the ability to swallow, even sometimes my own saliva.
Yep.
Um, it was very scary. I had widespread joint pain. I felt like I had a fever all the time, even though I did not. Hair loss, digestive issues that were terrible, menstrual irregularities. It was like the list goes on and on. I cannot even remember all of the things that I had to go through and all of the testing that I had to go through. It makes me want to cry. It really makes me want to cry thinking about how sick I was and how sick I felt and wondering, was this going to be the rest of my life?
You don't realize how many people this just resonated with.
Yeah.
How many people out there had even just one of these symptoms, or how many people had 2 or 3 of these symptoms? Type it in chat. If you had even 1 or 2 of these symptoms, if you have your own mix of mystery symptoms, share it in chat right now. Because the thing is, and the symptoms you listed are the most commonly dismissed by doctors.
Oh yeah. And I did have one doctor tell me I was a hysterical woman and it was all in my head.
F that guy. I'm sorry. Or girl, whoever. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But like, that's ridiculous. But that is the most common response people with autoimmunity get from their doctors when their blood tests come out normal, is to say, oh, you need an antidepressant, or you need some therapy, or you're hysterical, you're a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
But you at some point did get some positive testing.
Yes. It was shortly after I had that conversation with that doctor that finally, because my tests had been negative for a long time and I just
Right.
kept going back to the doctor saying something's wrong, something's wrong.
Right.
Until finally they did turn positive and the ANA lit up positive and then I had specific antibodies light up positive. Megan, thank you, Megan. You're amazing too. We just did an interview with Megan and so her interview will air soon and it's wonderful. She's going to help a lot of people by sharing her story as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, finally I had antibodies pop positive that were for a disease called scleroderma.
Yeah.
Then the anxiety starts swirling even more because you start reading online that the prognosis for that sometimes can be poor.
Yeah, you say it, and I could hear the fear in your voice even around that word. And, when you look at scleroderma, it's in one of the family of what we call mixed connective tissue disorders, and people call it rare, and it's not rare. It's not rare at all. And the thing is like, if you're lucky enough to qualify for a diagnosis, I guess, but like, how many people out there have tons of different types of targets, of autoimmune targets in their connective tissue? And that could be your esophagus, it could be your lungs, it could be your skin, it could be your bowels, it could be your nails.
Oh, yeah. I had nail problems too. Forgot
I
to mention
know.
that. Yeah.
And the thing
And Raynaud's, forgot to mention that too,
another autoimmune attack against connective tissue of arteries. And
Right.
yet, like most, I guess you were lucky enough to get a name to it as an undifferentiated mixed connective tissue disorder.
Right. Yeah. Because they told me I did not have enough qualifying factors yet to meet the scleroderma diagnosis, but that I was labeled undifferentiated connective tissue disease. And we'll just watch and see what happens. We'll see if you get sicker.
90 to me, in my experience, 90% or more people with autoimmune disease never get a diagnosis because the blood test hasn't caught up with. There are thousands of targets in your connective tissue to be under attack. So for me, it's like she may never actually get the actual diagnosis, and many people out there don't even get the undifferentiated, don't get the scleroderma, but yet you have all these symptoms. Right. So this was the biggest point. Was it an obstacle for you to even when I say, you've seen me say 1,000 times, the diagnosis doesn't matter. Yeah. I don't give a rat's ass what your diagnosis is. And you'll never hear another doctor say that, because all the money, all their time is spent trying to diagnose you. Yes. And I'm not interested in that whatsoever. I just want to end this shit.
Yeah. No, that was an obstacle for me. But when I finally heard you talk about how diagnosis doesn't matter, it really did resonate with me in a huge way, because I was just getting ready to travel out of state for the second time to go visit yet another doctor to try to get a definitive diagnosis.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And like literally the next 2 weeks I was supposed to go, and I ended up canceling that appointment after consultation with my own doctor and saying, I think I'm going to cancel this appointment that you had wanted me to go to, because I think I'm going to try something different. I am working with a doctor who tells me the diagnosis doesn't matter and we can attack this regardless of what the diagnosis is. And that was a mindset shift for me as well, because for so long, you're chasing that diagnosis. You say, well, what's wrong with me? I have to have a name for it so I can have a game plan. And that's not really the right approach. I know now.
Okay. I'm interested in how many people in the audience don't have a diagnosis or in that diagnostic carousel that's trying to figure out their diagnosis. And those of you that have a diagnosis, how many years did it take you to get the diagnosis? And, I think about sometimes it takes someone like, I don't know how many years it took you to get a diagnosis. It took me probably like 8 years to even get a diagnosis. I had Hashimoto's. I didn't even know. But that's typical. It takes seven plus years for the people who actually have a diagnosis to get a diagnosis. And what are we doing that time? Just waiting and waiting for a diagnosis, then to do something about it? That 7-year mark is not a neutral. That 7 years, the whole time autoimmunity is continuing its march to destroy, right?
Yeah.
So
this person says you want answers, and I agree, you do want answers. But what I learned in the program is I got answers. It's not about what's your diagnosis as the answer. It's about, okay, what's malfunctioning maybe in your body, or what does your body need that it's not getting? We're going to get those answers so that we can address it and you can feel better.
Here's the thing. When you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answer. When you ask the wrong question, you'll get the wrong answers. If your question and your doctor's question, the primary question is what's the diagnosis? That's the wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is, how can I end what's feeding these symptoms? I don't care what is the cause of it, like what is the actual name to this. The real question is, how can I end this? Yeah. So that's a problem. People are asking the wrong question.
Right.
So ask the right question, you'll get the right answer.
What's causing all this? And look at what Meg had to say. I have all the symptoms of so many autoimmune diseases, but I know I'll never get the answer to that. I just know it's like reading a book written about me.
Okay.
I can relate. I think a lot of us can.
Absolutely. And any of you that are in that diagnosis train, go ahead and type in chat. I'd love to hear what your experience has been. So, Anne, I would love for you to share, what were your results? What were your outcomes?
Yeah.
That's what people care about. They want to know. It's 2 months. You've been working with that. I've been at this for 20 years and you worked in this program for 2 months. What were your results? What are some of your actual medical results?
Well, yeah. And I think when you talk about results, we also have to talk about, what did I learn? What did I find out about myself? So one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, and really the whole reason that I found you in the first place, was I wanted to figure out what was going on with my hormones. I knew there was a strong hormonal connection to what was fueling my autoimmunity, or it impacted it in some way, but no doctor could figure it out. And I spent years and many doctors trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So in this very short period of time, as soon as I got my hormone testing result back, you were able to, clear as day, tell me that I had what you call hidden PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yeah.
And it was surprising. And it wasn't, it was something I had wondered if I'd had for a long time, but several doctors had told me that no, I couldn't have that because of this factor or that. Meanwhile, I have a lot of the symptoms for it.
You have a lot of the outcomes, poor outcomes as a result of it. Not even just symptoms, but poor outcomes of it.
Very poor outcomes, extremely poor outcomes. Infertility tops the list for me, which is something I struggled with, if anybody's followed my story, for many years, in a very heartbreaking and soul crushing journey to try to create a family with my husband. So now I know that this is something I've been dealing with my entire life. And it makes a lot of sense when I look back throughout my life. Yes. They put me on birth control pills way back when I was 15 years old because of an irregular cycle. Yeah. No one ever stopped to say to me, hey, why do you have an irregular cycle?
Well, and I think about the money and time and emotional pain that people put into dealing with infertility as if it's just some problem that people can just throw hormones and money at. And for me, like, helping people get pregnant is not difficult at all when you understand what's causing the problem, right? So I love the fact that I'm the pregnancy whisperer. It's easy to become the pregnancy whisperer when you teach people how to read and understand their hormones, and also fix those patterns, right?
When you mention time and money, it's no exaggeration. IVF is so expensive. Yeah. We spent, I don't even want to say how much money we probably spent on it, in addition to traveling cross country to try to go to another doctor after failed attempt locally. It is so expensive. And if that's something that somebody out there is struggling with, I feel you, and Dr. Maggie will be able to help. I know you'll be able to help, because if I would have met you at the beginning of my journey, it would have looked very different.
It's not a difficult problem to solve when you have the tools to understand your testing and what the underlying causes are, the patterns involved, and how to fix it. So yeah.
So let me tell you a biggest result from that. Would you like to hear?
What's the result?
I mentioned irregular menstrual cycles from the time I was 15 or before. I have a regular menstrual cycle now.
I mean, well, hell yes.
For the third month in a row since being a part of this program, I'm regular. It's mind blowing to me. This is
2 months, lady.
No, I know. Oh, it happened to me in the first month. The first month of working with you. Bam. Regular.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah.
So regular periods.
Even before we delved deeply into my hormones, all of the work that we were doing in the program was already working to rebalance me.
I would love for alumni who are watching, or anyone that's watching, like, what has happened as a result of your hormones being balanced. Let's have other people share the results. If they can put in chat, that'll be great. So number one, periods got regular, understanding of why there were struggles with infertility. And if you ever wanted to again, you know how.
Yes.
And then, so hormones, big result. Number one. Any other results?
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about two other things I found out. I had found out I was low in all of my vitamins.
Oh, yeah.
All of them. Low in vitamin D, low in iron, which once I worked on increasing my iron, my hair loss stopped. My hair stopped falling out once I addressed my iron.
Yep.
I mean, and I had been wondering for a long time, what's going on. And in fact, I worked with another doctor who wondered, maybe it is iron, but didn't know the exact levels of where iron should be, where ferritin should be.
Functional values.
And so we were stopping short. We were stopping short of where
I see that. Well, and then the other thing too is, if you never figure out what's causing the low iron, you're never going to get the iron to go up or stay up. So, I drill sergeant time. I drill people in our program about iron all the time. Any of you out there, alumni, what did you figure out was the underlying root cause of your low iron? I'm more interested in that.
Yeah. Let us know what was going on with your iron struggles as well, because, nobody even really talked to me that much. I'm a vegan, and my doctors know that, and they were never really talking to me about
an input problem.
We have an input problem here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And probably I have an input problem, I have an output problem, and I have an absorption problem. I had it all. My iron was deep, deep, deep down in the toilet because of this. And so, a gut infection can be a cause of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the thing is that if you don't realize that it's an input problem, or it's an output problem, or it's an absorption problem, you can't fix it for life. And I'm interested in teaching people to how to troubleshoot it, so they know which cause it is, and they can just fix it for life. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way you're going to get iron to really consistently even go up or stay up, so that you're not just dependent on supplementation for the rest of your life. I'm better, but I have to take 10 pills of iron every day. Screw that. Let's just fix the problem that's causing in the first place, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Megan's like, my iron was the one thing I was okay on.
But how many other things did she learn? I know.
It wasn't okay, Megan. I love it.
Exactly. We have a question. What is this one? What role do hormones play post-menopause? My hormone levels all tested normal range. Oh
my God. I'm not even going to go there, because Christine, we have literally 1,000 trainings around hormones and hormone changes, and why this whole normal labs on hormones is just such a freaking lie. It's literally a conspiracy and a lie against women. I really, and against men in a lot of ways. I feel like we're in a hormonal genocide against people with a lot of hormone problems. It's bullshit. You don't have normal hormones. I can tell you that right now. Oh, it makes me so mad. But I have a lot of trainings about hormones, perimenopause, postmenopause, or why hormone labs are lying to you, or why your doctors don't know jack shit about hormones. What you're being told is a lie. Not because they're purposely lying to you. They don't know. They don't know jack shit about hormones. That's the truth. You can take that to the bank. So if you want some more information about hormone training, anybody, type your symptoms about hormonal change in chat, and I will check your message request later today or tomorrow morning. We will get the right resources to you, because I literally have about 200 to 300 hormone trainings that I've done addressing that very question. But that's a great question, and that's your answer. Then take that to the bank. Your doctors don't know jack shit. And no, they're not normal.
I knew it would get you fired up.
It gets me mad that people are being told this, but Not bad intention of doctors, just bad training.
It's bad training.
Yeah,
Okay.
but then we have to live with these outcomes.
Yeah.
Right. So, number one, hormones. Number two, all the vitamins were deficient, specifically iron, and now hair is growing back. Boom. This is just in 2 months. Your hair is starting to get fuller again.
I know. If we're talking about results, something I would be extremely remiss if I did not mention was digestion. I
Okay.
mentioned digestion was one of the problems I was suffering with pretty badly, to the
Yeah.
point where, we mentioned I was talking about poop, but I would see all of these very expensive supplements I was taking
Yeah.
come
It was
back
a
out.
lot. It was
Yeah.
a lot.
And so I wasn't digesting them. I would literally see them come out undigested. And that was so upsetting for so many reasons. Chiefly among them, I wasn't getting what I knew my body needed then.
Yeah.
How am I ever going to start to feel better if I'm not even digesting what I
Yeah.
need?
You're not. You weren't. And you already learned in the program, 100% of everybody in the program had digestion problems. That was the underlying root cause of their autoimmune issues, their hormone imbalance, their pain. I mean, people just have no clue how big of a holy grail that really is.
Right.
So not only you mentioned better elimination, but were there any other digestive changes that you noticed from a symptom standpoint?
Yeah, bloating decreased as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. Well, don't ignore these symptoms. I mean, it could be heartburn, it could be bloating, it could be feeling like you eat meat but can't digest it. It can be diarrhea, it can be gas, it can be floaty stools. I mean, these are all signs and symptoms. And most importantly, poor digestion contributes to what? Malabsorption of all these key vitamins that's causing you to lose hair, that's causing your mast cell or histamine intolerances to go crazy. These poor digestion is the number one cause of mast cell activation, histamine intolerance. And then also poor digestion causes you to malabsorb. So then people with POTS, dysautonomia, aren't absorbing the critical nutrients and electrolytes that they even need. So digestion is king,
Yeah.
king. And yet people have tried everything, right?
Right.
No.
You mentioned POTS too, and it's like I didn't even mention this, but I had a lot of the symptoms for POTS as well prior to the
Mhm.
program,
Mhm.
with lightheadedness upon
Yeah.
standing up, and my heart rate was strange, and anxiety involved with a lot of it, and
I see with every single person with autoimmunity.
yep. Yeah. And that has all gotten much better as well. I was funny. Like I jumped up from the couch the other night. And sometimes if I would have jumped up really quickly, I would have almost hit the floor. And my husband even commented, he was like, "Hey, you're not about to pass out." Like, what, this is progress. You must be feeling better. It's things like that you just get so used to too in
Mhm.
your daily life of, okay, I'm just going to compensate of this
Yeah.
is what life feels like. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to
Yeah.
stand up and then hold the wall for 5 seconds until,
Yep.
the stars go away.
Yep.
Well, I'm not seeing the stars anymore.
Well, I can't wait because these are just some of the immediate results, right? With hormones, with the vitamin deficiencies, with the better digestion, elimination, hair, all this, right? These are just 2 months. But that's just, I mean, I call people, this is the first 1% of results that people get because there are so many other symptoms that you mentioned that it will get better, but it takes time to get better and better. I think about Raynaud's,
Yeah.
and a lot of people think conventional doctors think out there that it is something you cannot reverse. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And they try to prescribe medications that don't work with it. And the thing is that I know when you're looking at Raynaud's, it's a autoimmune attack against the connective tissue. It's also an attack against nerves that actually flow right next to the capillaries. So it's a part of it is neurological, like a neuropathy.
Mm-hmm.
So we know in the program I teach that nerves take 6 to 12 months to heal. So Raynaud's get better all the time. I mean, I eat Raynaud's for breakfast, period. But it's one of those things, I can't wait. But like as the months go on and these nerves improve and the autoimmune attack against the connective tissue and the arteries improve, I can't wait to hear what the hell is going to happen with your Raynaud's.
I know. I'm excited about that. And you mentioned like neuropathy. I did also have, it's like I had every symptom out there, but prior to
Yeah.
I had a lot of tingliness, which, especially when I would like be in bed, I would notice it. That's diminishing as well. So
Good.
yes.
Already her neuropathy is improving. Nobody improves neuropathy in 2 months. We do all the time. I mean, and you're not the only one. What did you observe as far as results in other people? That's the thing is, I mean, you went through this program with others.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? And, for you to actually go through this program with others, this is a very out of the box, opposite health experience than what people have one-on-one with their doctors huddled in the corner.
Right.
So what was this like going through the program with others?
Well, yeah, that's something that I was certainly apprehensive about as well, before joining the program, because not only are you sharing such intimate details about yourself, but
Sure.
you're also hearing others' intimate details about what's going on in their life and what's that
Oh,
going to feel like. Yeah, exactly. And it was not what I expected. Number one, you mentioned huddled in a corner. We going through the program with others and getting to see them ask you questions
yeah.
are able to learn so much
Yeah.
more than what we would have ever learned if we were just having a one-on-one with you.
Yeah.
Because we get to sit there every week, twice a week if we want to, for over 2 hours. And you will just go ahead and just teach and analyze and help everybody go through and answer questions.
I think
And it
Mhm.
was my favorite part of the program was the medical
Really?
masterminds. Oh, hands down, not a question. I miss them doing them now. But yeah, because you're just the learning, the education. I would even venture to say education. That's a result I got out of this program is the
Mm,
education that I
mm.
would have never gotten anywhere else that I had been so thirsty for so long. So yes, going through this in a community aspect really multiplied the education that I received and helped me learn, more things about myself, even though I'm listening to other people.
Yeah, I think you have to start viewing that when you actually have other people who are in like literally this in alignment with you, whatever they share, whatever they ask becomes your learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, do you want just one opportunity, 15 minutes every 6 months to learn? If you're lucky, you learn anything from your doctor, or do you want like hundreds of opportunities every single week to learn? From yourself and from others. Like when someone else asks, so many times people ask things about that they're like, oh, it's not related to autoimmunity, but this question, I'm like, of course it's related. And then it's like, then I'm like, how many people here, like, let's say sleep apnea or something, how many people here actually have a partner with a sleep apnea, suspect you do? And then all of a sudden half the people are raising their hand. And what the heck, would you ever thought if you had autoimmune and you were struggling with snoring or sleep apnea, who would have thought to even ask the question and be like, oh my God, I can end this and that's a game changer? It is, right? Like you become each other's opportunity to learn. How would you like hundreds of opportunities every single week to learn?
Yeah, no, it
Period.
is. That's so true. And what I would do is I could only attend one of the masterminds live, but since my schedule didn't allow for me to go to the other one, every single week I watched the replay of the other one because I just wanted to know, okay, what was happening in that group and what new nuggets is she talking about that I want to hear about when she's talking to other people. So yeah, the way that this program is structured in that it's so smartly laid out and it makes it so easy for us to get as much out of it as we
Mhm.
possibly can.
Yeah. I think about like when you're talking about the education, I was thinking about just even going through the thyroid module. And yesterday, I mean, I was talking to Kelly, and this is the first time that someone was able to look at just one of the numbers in her thyroid labs. And it was like her whole entire, I don't know, I didn't know Kelly prior to this program. And I went and I talked, and I don't know if Kelly or anybody's watching, that was on yesterday's mastermind call, but I was able to predict every single thing that had happened to Kelly up to that point based on that one thyroid number.
Yeah, and it's somehow, and it's like you start wondering, okay, she's not a fortune teller, she's not a psychic,
Mhm.
she's able to do this because it all comes back to data and knowledge and your experience.
Yeah, and what did you have any surprises when it came to your thyroid? I'm
Oh
curious
my
because you've seen
gosh.
so many functional doctors.
Yes. And my thyroid, I was always told was completely normal. And was my thyroid completely normal?
Was it?
No, it was not. No, it was not. And even so much as I'd had a thyroid ultrasound done because of an incidental finding with another physician
Yep.
who said, "Oh, you might have a goiter. Let's go do an ultrasound." Oh, yeah, you have a goiter and you have some nodules. And it was like, no big deal. We'll see. It's probably never
Mm.
gonna have a problem. But what I learned in the program was that I had an autoimmune attack against my thyroid.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
low
That's the only
thyroid.
reason you have a goiter, lady. Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And it had been a couple years since I had gone in for an ultrasound, and you really let us know that would we go have screenings if it was something like breast cancer? Would we go have screenings for other things? We need screenings for our thyroid because my autoimmune attack put me at a 10 times greater risk
Of
for
thyroid cancer.
thyroid cancer. That
Yeah.
was a huge eye opener for me. And so you
Yeah.
better believe I scheduled my thyroid ultrasound, which was challenging. And I know some doctors don't want to do it. But that's another thing. Dr. Maggie teaches us, and we don't have to get into it, but you teach us exactly how to speak to our healthcare physicians to not only offer them some respect, but also have them encouraged to work with us and to get the tests done that we need.
Well, that's the thing is like so much of people like, do I have to do this program and download and hide it from my doctor and all this stuff? I'm like, no, I actually teach you. Number one is how to choose the right doctors to work with, how to invite them to collaborate, how to show you that they're not the right ones, how to fire them. But also when you do find, how do you speak to them in a way to get exactly what you need? How do you speak to physicians to get exactly what you need? And you've seen this conversation modeled a million times where I teach people how to ask your doctor for an ultrasound and be prepared to meet with them telling you, no, you don't need it, little lady, or young man. But how switch that to, oh, I'll get it for you later this week. And you see it happen.
That was my exact experience. Is I was running up against a wall repeatedly with a receptionist who didn't even want to pass the message along to my doctor to get this ultrasound until I finally pulled out the word for word script, basically, that you give us. And wouldn't you know, the doctor scheduled it right after that. So
yeah. And, I think having someone like me in your corner who teaches you behind the scenes of how to speak to your doctor to get what you need. I don't know why we don't teach patients. Why don't we teach patients and parents how to do this, to advocate for ourselves and for our children? Why aren't we teaching the skill? Nobody else is actually teaching the skill. And I feel privileged that I'm able to literally, here's a download, everybody. Here's how you ask for it so that you make sure you get it. And it works every single time.
100%. I mean, that was exactly the reason I thought, wow, she really knows what she's talking about here, because this worked like a charm.
And you weren't there.
I got the thyroid ultrasound, and I was so happy to have learned that my thyroid had changed.
Yeah.
It had actually improved. And I don't know if it had improved in that. I mean, the goiter was no longer there, and the nodules, they now decided had become a cyst instead of nodules, and it wasn't multiple nodules anymore. It was just one tiny cyst.
Because the autoimmune attack is backing off, and your thyroid cells are no longer like, I need to protect myself. I need to protect myself. I need to protect myself.
Yeah.
So it's actually lessening the cysts, the nodules, and the goiters. And, and there's products to do that. But being in the program to back off that autoimmune attack actually causes these thyroid nodules, goiters, and cysts to shrink. How many of you guys are struggling with that? Write it in chat right now.
Yeah, because I got the test done toward the end of the program. So there was certainly time with everything I had done in the program for things to have changed. And I never dreamed that, I didn't know that these things could get smaller and go away. That's not something that I was told. I was told, it'll be there. We'll see if it ever becomes a problem. Not telling me that problem meant you'll get cancer,
Yeah. So here's a tough question. I mean, there's plenty of things you liked, but what do you think was the most challenging? Do you think was the most challenging thing about going through the program? Was it a piece of cake? What was hard about it?
Well, there is a big time commitment involved in it. So that was a big challenge for me. Like a lot of people out there, I'm a busy mom. I'm a wife, and I also have a full-time job. So you're trying to find time to really dedicate yourself to, this is something that important, that I need to carve out the time for this, and I need to spend this many hours a week learning this information and relearning this information and attending all of these different calls. So that was a challenge for me, but it was time beyond well spent, because I think about how much time I spent staying sick, trying to do all these other things.
That's the worst way to spend your time. That's not even spending your time. That's like wasting your time, is suffering.
Right. Yeah. So I had to make some arrangements and have my husband, contribute in some of the ways more than what he was used to. But also, that's so important if you do have a family dynamic, to have your family on your side and supporting you, hopefully, throughout this, because it can make a big difference.
The other thing is, I have Christine here asking, after the program is complete, do you follow labs annually, or will future labs be done by PCP? All of the above. That's let's have you answer that question. What's your own discernment and education? what's going to happen with labs and follow-up with you, Anne?
Yeah, you teach us exactly when we need to retest for every different lab. And so there is no doubt by the time we leave the program, when do we need to get our thyroid retested? When do we need to get our vitamins retested? You know, do we need to get our hormones retested? Do we need to get our food mapping retested? There's answers to all of that. And there's a specific recommendation for what's the appropriate time period. And this was a shocker to me too. You also teach us, because maybe you don't have a doctor, you're thinking to yourself, ooh, how am I going to get these things retested in 3 months or whenever the appropriate time is? If I don't have a doctor that's really helpful with this, will you also teach us that we can order our own labs?
I teach you exactly how to order your own labs.
That was a big surprise to me.
Yeah. And everything that we do in the program, this is about teaching people how to have the power, the tools, the resourcefulness to be able to advocate and implement for themselves. It is not a dependency model. You're not depending on me for the rest of your life. I teach mastery. I teach you how to master something. And when you, let's say, have a master's degree in accounting, you're able to have the skill set to do everything, to know how to solve, to know the steps that it takes to solve any problem. I think that to me is what more mastery is around. So you got to master your labs. And that's exactly what we're talking about, is like, Christine, you have to be the master of being, not only be able to understand those results, but also know, when do I need it? When do I need to retest it? What do I do with the results? And when can I stop begging somebody else to order them? When is it going to be on me that I can do that?
It's a part of the education, and this person speaks to that education and the commitment in that education, the investment. What good is money when you don't have your health to enjoy it? I think this program is a master's degree in my health. The cost is less than a semester at an average 4-year university. I choose to invest in my health because I'm worth it. We're all worthy of having a life to enjoy.
That is so beautiful. Trust me, I'm paying for my son's college right now and my daughter's college right now. It does cost less than a semester.
You're like, yeah, it's way less.
And this is the fight for our lives. This isn't like some casual, like, oh, I'm learning how to do underwater African basket weaving. This is like the fight for your life.
Right.
And it costs less than a semester of college for our kids. Think about that. We're willing to do for our kids, but we're not willing to do for ourselves, even one semester. Right?
No.
Wow, that is an interesting perspective. You talked about time, and I do want to say that a lot of people are like, you were saying the same thing, which is like, I don't have time to do this. But what they don't realize is, and what you just mentioned was, you're losing time. You're losing time the whole time you're not doing it. And the thing is, when you actually have health, you have true wealth, and you actually have a wealth of time, because I have more time now that I'm healthy than I ever did when I was sick. I've created more time because I'm healthy and I feel great. I am making time to, like, have fun, enjoy my time with my kids, love on my dog. I mean, like, actually go out to travel to a place I couldn't before. Like, I'm making time. I've created it as a result of investing in my own education and health outcomes.
And I'll add to that, and I'll say, it's not just that you have more time because you feel well physically. My mental load has changed as well, to where there might be times where my husband, he's like, hey, you want to hang out and watch a show or do whatever, just spend time together. And I'm over here too worried about researching every last symptom and trying to figure out this and having my mindset a mess, to where that has now diminished. And I am, from a mental perspective, freed up to enjoy my life more, because it was really taking, that anxiety was taking a massive toll, and that need for, oh, I just got to research one more thing. That's not happening anymore.
Well, I think people don't realize just how much their lives are spending. I mean, how much time, you guys, just answer in chat, are you spending Googling and researching on your autoimmunity? Like, just think about how many hundreds of thousands of hours just in the last year you've spent on that. I mean, put it in chat, like, be honest about that. And here's the thing is, if it created an outcome, that's great. But the problem is that there's so much generalized information that's personalized to no one. And so without your own data, number one, without the proper mentorship or guidance to focus on what actually matters, and without, number three, the right order of operations and how to fix it, that time is actually wasted in suffering. You're not getting, it's not like you're researching and educating yourself and improving yourself. You're creating more and more suffering as you're going through it.
making you sicker because that anxiety is wreaking havoc then physically on your body.
And I look at, I mean, it was interesting watching you. I have the privilege of getting to know you as a woman and as a friend now. And I feel lucky. I mean, I adore you.
I know. We've become tight.
But it was interesting watching that research fear brain that you had that was directed at yourself, being now directed in the past couple months, like in the past couple weeks. It was one directed at your dog, right?
Yeah.
And you became that person Googling a whole time. And I'm like, hey, I was literally like, hey, Anne, why aren't you applying these 5 pillars to your dogs like this?
I know you did. You helped me. You helped me with that. Who would have thought the program would then help your animal companions?
Well, I actually did a training last night in one of our programs, and I went and talked about how the 5 pillars applied to our pets.
It's true.
I did it. I mean, I did it because I mean, I love humans and I love pets even more. No, I'm kidding.
Dr. Maggie, by the way, has the most adorable animals, and her dog is quite the protector.
But it was interesting. I had to say, like, bitch slap you and be like, hey, Anne, why don't you apply what you've learned, not just to yourself, but apply it towards your dog?
That's true.
And then we had a conversation recently about our children, your child, you know, and the worst thing is seeing our children suffer. And I was like, hello, mindset, like everything that you learned is helping your son. Why aren't you doing this, this, and this for him?
Right. You want to hear something? We're going tomorrow to get blood work done for him.
Thank you.
Blood work done, the blood work that's recommended in the program. Have an appointment tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We're taking him. He's not going to love it, but we're going to get the results. Yeah, I know. We're going to get the results, and then I'm going to be able to take actionable steps based on the knowledge that I have learned in this program. Because guess what? If you're somebody who has autoimmunity, your child most likely can exhibit, these symptoms. And I am already seeing that. My son's about to turn 4 years old. I'm already seeing concerning things. And I don't want to let his life go down the same path that mine did. I want to be
not on your watch, not on my watch, mama. No way.
Exactly. I can't tell you how grateful I am for that because, sometimes as moms in general too, we feel like, okay, we'll help ourselves, but really first we want to help our children or our loved ones around us. Right. And so, yes, it feels good to say I'm worthy and I deserve to help myself, but it also feels beyond invaluable to be able to gift our children with health. And to be able to help improve. Yep, Megan, I agree. To help improve the lives of our child. I cannot even explain it. And I know that I'm going to be able to make a difference in his life because of you. So thank you.
Well, it was just interesting I like being able to look at the full spectrum of what is really occupying and causing suffering. It's not just about us and our health. I mean, we also even as we're working to help improve ourselves, the moment some stressor comes up with our pet or with our child, boom, you almost go back to that space again. Like your trauma has caused you to go back to that emotional home of just panic research, panic, doom and despair, worst case scenario. And I was just like, no. And I don't do this just for you. I'm doing this with alumni and with people in our programs. I'm like, oh, right there, stop right there, interrupting that pattern right there. Why did this not apply to your dog or to your child? Why did it not? Come on. Did you just do this for you?
And she says, my dog's my baby. Actually, my dog's illness came at the very beginning of the program. So I was able to help intervene with his illness based on some of your recommendations. And I'm so happy to tell you, my dog's symptoms are gone.
Really?
They're gone. Yeah,
you're holding on me. You never told me that.
I didn't tell you this. I know I needed to. He was having, we don't need to get into a whole big long story about my dog, but he was urinating in the house. He was having kidney problems. A doctor told me it was like the end, basically. I made some adjustments in his life based on the program and some additional recommendations from you. And he's no longer urinating in the house. He's doing great. He's back to acting like a puppy in the morning, and he's 13 years old. So
you were holding out on me.
I know. I was big time holding out on you on that one because that was a big stressor for me, as you know.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you did that. All right. So everybody, thank you so much. Because you helped yourself, you can help him. You can help anybody. If you're not doing this for yourself, do it for them. All right. So everybody, I wanted to, you guys, thank you, Anne, number one, for being the host of Autoimmune Table Talk. It's been great having you as my partner in crime for the last 9 months, and you're going to continue to be our host and doing these alumni interviews. Number two is thank God you finally decided to do the
Right.
program.
Outside.
I was like, come on, what's holding you back? Come on, what's wrong with you? And number 3, I was like, thank God you had the courage to also share every step of that journey in your vlog, video blog that you did. And if anybody wants more information to see Anne's blog, go ahead and type in chat. We can get the links to you to check out her vlog as she went through our program. And thank you for number 4 is sharing all your behind the scenes experience as you went through this program. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, there was some tears. I mean, it was raw. So yeah, well, thank you for all of the thanks to me, but truly I should be the one thanking you. I'm so appreciative of all that you had to go through I know you were sick. We've talked about your story. You went through hell, absolute hell. And that's an understatement. And then you had to learn all of this on your own. It took you years and it took you, I don't even know, you've calculated it, but a lot of money to figure this out.
About $1 million at least. Yeah.
$1 million. And now you are so generous with your information and your time to help us learn this information in such a fast period of time and get results so quickly so that we don't have to suffer for as long. So Dr. Maggie, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for us. And also just thanks for being a friend.
You're so very welcome. And thank you. And thanks for holding out the doggy thing for me till the very end. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
It's going better.
I'm like, Lynch. Everybody, if you want to learn more about the Transform program, go ahead and there's a link above this video to chat with our team. We'll also put a link in chat for you to chat us, book a call with our team, just chat with us, or also tell us what's going on with you. We can share tons of trainings, regardless of whether you join the program or not. You want to learn more about autoimmunity, put your information, what's going on with you, your struggles in chat, and then check your messenger requests later, and we'll get some trainings to you your way so you can learn more to kick autoimmune in the ass, everybody. So here we go. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, happy New Year.
Okay, thank you.